call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson, Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly, Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next will be a moment of silence led by our board clerk, Mr. Jerry Denton.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in other silent activity. Thank you.
Okay, leading the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, we have some special guests. Dr. Dunlop, do you mind introducing them?
Sure. So this evening we have our Pledge of Allegiance that's being led by our JROTC cadets, Elvin Hardwick and Dylan Huffman, and also Colonel G, our JROTC instructor.
Alrighty guys, will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the republic. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty guys, please have your seats.
Thank you.
Colonel, that might cost him some push-ups, huh?
And Colonel G, do you mind coming up and sharing? I think we have some big news to announce regarding our JROTC program.
Okay, I know when we first started the program, one of the big things we wanted to do was have the Air Force come and fund the unit. Because when we started, we were what's called a National Defense Cadet Corps unit, which means the school district has to fund pretty much everything, uniforms and our salaries and just pretty much buses and anytime we need money, it would come from the district. Okay, and the Air Force process for a new unit is 3 years. First year they come out and they visit us to see how we're doing. The second year they come out as kind of a self-help visit. They come out and they take a look at us and say, hey, this is what you guys need to do to get better. And then the third year they come out and do an inspection. If we pass the inspection the third year, then we go on the list that the Air Force has to fund new units. We compete against all the other schools, wanting unit plus the other NDCCs. But for us in particular, they came out last year to do our self-help visit, but our cadets and Chief Davis had done such a fantastic job, and the inspector was very impressed with everything our guys are doing for a second-year unit. They changed that self-help visit into an inspection, and they rated us excellent. And at the end of the year, we won a Distinguished Unit Award. So that put us on the list a year early. And then a few weeks ago, we found out that the Air Force had agreed to fully fund our program a full year ahead of schedule, at least. But, a lot of that was due to the great support we received from the board, the high school, and the cadets and the chief. So we're looking forward to a bright future.
Colonel G, I heard some story about you taking a picture of the banner that it was at the football field. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, the day before I found out that we got picked up, I took a picture of the ROTC banner that was hung up on the high school stadium, and I said, hey, look at the engagement that we have with the school. And then our inspector sent it to his boss, who sent it to the person who makes decisions, and he's put a little note on it and said, this is my #1 choice to be picked up this year. And then the next day we found out we were funded. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
We love it. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be the adoption of the agenda.
Any changes?
No changes noted.
Okay. Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be the board minutes from the August 14th meeting. Any discussion or questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Looks like we jumped ahead on the.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
So sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. We did get voting buttons.
No, but I have it on here.
That's all right. We'll move on. Next item will be summaries and achievements. Mr. Blackburn.
Don't be afraid. Come on up here. If I got to stand up here, you do too. So, Dr. Dunlop, Board of Education, I'm pleased to bring to you basically recognition of our Career Tech program. This summer, they go to a conference in August where Career Tech schools throughout the district are recognized for certain things, and our district received the State Superintendent's Award for Outstanding Achievement in delivering quality career and technology education. This award was created back in 1994, and I believe it's the first time that we have been recognized, and just wanted to give you an opportunity to meet some of the teachers and some of the students that have played a key role in gaining this recognition for the district. Very proud of them. And just to give you a real quick number, we have roughly 18 teachers that are Career Tech teachers, which impact about a little over 1,600 students every day. And we are one of the largest producers of individuals that go to Career Tech and move on to better careers that they're seeking out. So with that being said, I would like for each one of them to come up and just say what they do for the district and then introduce these three fine young ladies.
I guess we'll start. I'm Rodney Arthur. I'm one of the ag teachers and the Career Tech department head at the high school.
I'm Rachel Lawhorn. I'm the second ag teacher out at the high school.
Our accomplishments toward the award were that we had 15 students pass their Career Tech certification exams, which was the most of any high school in the state of Oklahoma. We were very proud of that because all of our 15 students went on stage in Oklahoma City, took a picture right at the very beginning. We also had 5 students get their state FFA degree, which is basically our all-state. So we were very proud of those seniors as well. We also had an interscholastics team that finished 3rd at state and then went on to represent Oklahoma at nationals and finished 11th.
Very cool.
I'm Gail Hahn. I'm with the middle school at Sequoia, and we teach Gateway to Technology.
And I'm Tracy Gaunt, and I teach at Oliver Gateway to Technology.
Very cool.
So we're the starting point for you guys.
I'm Debbie Coffey, and I am the marketing department. Basically, I teach accounting, business management, and marketing fundamentals. We qualified 5 kids for a national competition last year. However, it was the same weekend as prom, and so all of them chose to attend prom. We have a pretty good history of taking them to nationals, though, so we're hoping for a better scheduling this year.
I am Brittany Klink, and I'm one of the 6 FACS teachers, so Family Consumer Science teachers at the high school, and I teach parent and child development.
I'm Michelle Howe, and I am one of the FACS teachers, and I teach foods and nutrition.
My name is Julie Brown, and I'm also one of the 6 Family Consumer Sciences teachers. I teach Intro to Facts, so it's a little bit of all of the coursework combined into kind of a year-long kind of melting pot of a mixture so they can see which area they like, and then they filter into these other ladies' classes. This summer, I had the privilege of taking these young ladies to Nashville, Tennessee. They, along with, well, there was 4 of them that went to compete for nationals. We had actually 9 that qualified, and 4 of them were able to go and compete and bring home some gold to Broken Arrow, so we're really proud of them. This is Britton Greenlee, Jasmine Bailey, and Savannah Gibbons.
So with that, the state superintendent provided a nice plaque to give to the district, which will be presented to Dr. Dunlop.
Very nice.
Thank you so much to all of you and you students. We are so proud of you, and we're proud of the tradition that Career Tech has always had in Broken Arrow. Another well-known fact is that Broken Arrow sends more students to Career Tech than any other Tulsa regional school as well. Over 700 students spend at least 61 hours a week at least they spend most of their day at Career Tech is what I'm trying to say. 61 hours, we make them work hard. Anyway, so we're very, very proud of the tradition, but more so we're proud of our teachers because we know that you pour your heart and soul into our students, and these young ladies are a product of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm going to let them. This is about them. It's not about me.
Yeah, the reason why we do this in the first place.
Swing on around those other
I will come back.
Okay. Look this way. And one more, please. Thank you.
Ladies, congratulations. Great job. Great job. Way to represent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Congratulations to all of you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Dunlap, I got to visit one of the sites over at Sequoia when we had the ribbon cutting. And boy, that was a neat room and facility, and I wish they would have had that when we were in middle school here, because it looked like it was a lot of fun. And
That's Mrs. Hahn's room.
Miss Hahn, and you could see in her face how excited she was about what she did, and just appreciate what you do for the students there, getting them started, and hopefully leading to great things ahead for them. My son graduated and just now took a Career Tech class and said it is the best class he's ever taken in any of his educational experience, and he's 21 years old now. So, thank you.
I know.
Yeah, ours are doing the same things. Yeah. Next, Ms. Peterson.
Yes, well, good evening, President Allen and Dr. Dunlop and members of the board. I'm here tonight to recognize Linwood Elementary for its reading achievement over the last 3 years. Just a couple things that I want to point out. First, Mr. Chris is here with us tonight. What is your last name? It must be just the night of faux pas. It's Monday. I'm never going to live that one down. Chris England is here with us tonight as the principal of Linwood Elementary. But a couple things I do want to point out just as our district on the whole, and I believe that you have the handouts. Okay. So basically, just we as a school district perform better than all of our neighboring districts. And what this is, I guess I should step back. Tulsa Impact is a group, it's a group of, gosh, how would I even say it? There are superintendents over the area, there are leaders in Tulsa. I believe it was Kathy Taylor that started it.
Community leaders that started it.
Right, so they wanted to see how they could make an impact on our schools, and so they started gathering data just to basically see where we need help. And so one thing that you'll see is when Broken Arrow compared to other Tulsa area districts, we do quite a bit better. Just when we're looking at a Lexile score, which is awesome. Next, there is a graphic in there that I really wanted to point out that shows all of the Broken Arrow schools, and there are 2 schools that have made I would say they have made growth over the last 3 years consecutively, but there is a difference between Linwood and Wolf Creek when we look at the socioeconomic status and the demographics, where Linwood has a very high ELL population. It is very transient, but over the 3 years, they have made quite a bit of difference between, you know, the 2014 Lexile score to the 2016. Which says a great deal. And the one thing about this, I know it's just a snapshot. It's just based on our 3rd grade test scores. But that snapshot does tell us areas where we need to work, but it also shows us areas where we really need to celebrate. The last thing that I do want to point out, so on that last graphic, it's just a graph, but it shows that Linwood is in the 96th percentile, as compared to 107 other elementaries in the area. That's amazing, especially when you just compare it to other Broken Arrow schools. It is amazing. So we just wanted to recognize them and the leader, because it takes a great leader to make that impact. So just wanted to share that with you all, because often we don't always see the positive, and this is a real positive.
Mr. England. I'm just teasing. Seriously, we want to thank you, and more importantly, your teachers. Having been out at your site many, many times, you see the passion and the heart in what they do, and we love that this has to do with reading, because that's part of our mantra, is the 100% literacy. And at 96, I'm thinking we're getting pretty close. So congratulations, and thank you for the work you do.
Mr. England, that's my alma mater. I'm an alumni of Linwood, so got to open that school up there. Very proud, and congratulations to you and all your staff as well. Keep up the good work. Next item, number 8, Ms. Burns.
President Allen, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop, this has been quite a year for Broken Arrow Teacher of the Year, Donna Grottle. As you know, prior to the start of the new school year, our Broken Arrow Public Schools Teacher of the Year was named as one of 12 statewide finalists for Oklahoma Teacher of the Year. In addition to that honor, however, Ms. Grottle recently traveled to Washington, D.C., where she was recognized as a recipient of the prestigious Presidential Innovation Award for Environmental Educators, and was honored at an event where she received a plaque and a cash award. The Presidential Innovation Award for Environmental Educators is given to educators in grades K through 12 who employ innovative approaches to environmental education and use the environment as a context for learning for their students. The Environmental Protection Agency divides the United States into 10 regions, and each region may nominate up to 2 teachers for this award. This year, there were 6 winners nationwide, and Donna Grottle is one of those. In my own letter, which recommended Ms. Grottle for this award, I wrote, Donna Grottle teaches in one of the smallest spaces on our campus, but her students are utterly transported by the work that is done there, as the confining walls of the classroom are figuratively pushed out and the larger world becomes their true classroom. Mrs. Grottle is an inspiration to each of us, adult and student, who have the privilege to work alongside her each day. And it is my sincere honor as her colleague, her friend, and her principal to present her to you this evening. Donna Grottle.
Thank you. think you've heard enough from me here lately. I'm sure it was her letter that was the reason I won. She makes me sound so good. You know, all I can say is it's just been really a privilege and an honor to teach here in Broken Arrow for, I don't even know how many years now. What is it, 26, 27? No, 22. No, I was trying to distinguish the ones here in Oklahoma and the ones in West Virginia, but it's 22 here. And it's, you know, we have fabulous students, so it's really easy. My job is really easy, and I love my content, and they seem to love it also. So it's an easy job to me. It's a wonderful job, and I get to work with Ms. Burns and so many other great administrators and people in our district. So my job's just really easy. It really is. I don't like the summers. I like coming to school. That's kind of weird, I guess. But it's an honor for me to represent Broken Arrow, not only in the state, but also in the nation, and to really show people in other parts of the country that Oklahoma, that we really have a good educational system, and that we have great students, and that we do great things. So it's my honor to represent you, and I really thank you for recognizing me tonight. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Grottle, and we are honored to have you represent us as well. Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Crawley.
Mr. Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. If you want to have a very successful career in Broken Arrow Public Schools, there are two members of our staff that you do not want to speak after, and that's Mrs. Burns and Donna Grottle. So I did approach Miss Grottle and asked her not to be funny at all, be very serious, and I thought you did a great job for a teammate. That's the kind of person she is. That's why she's going to be State Teacher of the Year. Really quickly, my name is Lance Crawley. I'm the principal at Rhodes Elementary School, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of a donation item that came through, I believe, Dr. Dunlop, first of all, at a chamber meeting. I think she met Mike and Jason, and then had the wisdom to ask them to meet with Carla Dias and Jennifer Peterson. And in a second, I'll introduce Mike Gillen, but they're with Bike Club of Tulsa, and hopefully we're going to become big enough where people forget about Bike Club of Tulsa, and it's going to be Bike Club of Broken Arrow. But really quickly, I thought I should wear my bicycling singlet and outfit tonight. Mr. Perry thought it would be a great idea, but the wisdom of our superintendent, again, she said, Lance, no, I just don't think that would be the best. So I didn't, and I came in a tie. But essentially, I'm here to say that Bike Club of Tulsa has approached Rhodes with a gift of approximately $4,000 for 20 student bikes and 4 adult bikes, so that completely free to students, 1 day a week, we can start a bicycle club to teach the basics and safety of riding and the joy and the love of riding, and that's the emphasis first semester. And then second semester, that's going to morph into field trips into the community, just further exploration on the bicycle and love of the community, and just so excited about this opportunity. Mike Gilland, he brought this to me in our school, and I'm going to let him talk to you about their vision for what this program is going to look like in Broken Arrow.
Cool. Thank you. I'm super excited, and I'll try and not speak too quickly because I typically get really excited about stuff. But so I work for Air Assurance. We have an Air Assurance bike racing team that I started 8 years ago, and the whole vision for me from the get-go has been able to impact children in a way. I mean, as a kid, for me, my best memories were riding bikes with my dad and going on field trips and just seeing things that normally in my little bubble I wouldn't see. And I mean, I think everyone can attest to this. We just went out in the country. We rode wherever we could until the light came on and we had to go home. You know, it's like, I want to be able to give that to kids. I have 4 kids of my own, and they want to play video games. They want to be inside, and, you know, I want to get kids outside. So what this started as, every year we have a race here in Broken Arrow called Ruts and Guts. It's out at the Chisholm Trail Park across from NSU. It's in December every year, and so we've been raising funds and saving money for this, and so this will be our pilot school at Rhodes. Our hope is to have 10 schools in the next 2 years. And the way it's set up right now is we have basically about 7 volunteers that work for my team that we will go every Monday afternoon from 4 to 5:30, and we will ride with the kids, just like I said. We'll teach them how to wear a helmet properly, how to change a tube, how to properly ride a bike and shift, and brake. And then it's just going to be fun, field trips. I want to ride to the museum and make it a fun place to go, and we're exercising along the way, take them over to flight safety and, get inside and show them just all the cool stuff. And so with the way that health and wellness is becoming more popular, we want to show these kids that it is fun to exercise without actually realizing that you're exercising. You're just playing. So that's our goal. I hope that it's something that we can do for this year, and then just keep getting more and more schools involved. So, any questions that you have?
Just a comment. Thank you so much. I know when I was approached at the chamber, I was very excited about the possibility. But what you're talking about is exactly, we've talked about our mantra, our 100% literacy. Well, the second prong of that is engagement. And this is a perfect example of how we engage students and really make them feel like they're part of the school community. Absolutely. And then they want to be there. So we love the way you're promoting health and fitness and the way you're making sure our students feel like they're part of the school community. And thank you for the donation.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, this is an action item, so any more discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, next item's comments from the public. We do not have any this evening, so item number 11, Dr. Dunlap, discussion strategic plan.
Okay, so item number 11 is the strategic plan update. And the strategic plan update, basically this is strategic plan 2.0. And this one takes up in 2017 and goes to 2022, and it really addresses a lot of the things that we have identified in our mantra. We did a really good job this time of aligning those most important things, which are literacy, engagement, and graduation, with some of our larger goals as a district. This plan serves as a guiding point. It helps us make sure that we're focusing on the things that matter. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Amanda Summers, and she's going to lead us through that review.
Good evening, gentlemen, and Dr. Dunlap. All right, so as you know, the Strategic Plan 2.0 was approved in February of 2017. What we're going to do this time around is every quarter we will provide you guys with specific updates as far as what progress is being made, what programs might be implemented to be working toward that progress, etc. This month we're going to look at instructional technology, and then we'll also look at human resources. Specifically, the objectives that came from instructional technology were to create an individualized learning culture, an environment that is supported by sustainable technology, and then secondly, with HR, develop a comprehensive plan to improve district culture. So both of those, of course, are overarching objectives. They're not very specific. And so what every single division in the district did is they got together and decided basically how are we going to provide more specific metrics so that when we report out to you as far as how we are tracking toward those objectives, we can give you guys an actual timetable, maybe a specific number or goal or percentage that we're trying to reach. So this evening, instructional technology, that's going to be Mr. Brandon Chitty. So Mr. Chitty, if you wouldn't mind coming up here. Of course, you're familiar with Mr. Chitty's enthusiasm in the work that he's done so far, and so he's just going to give you a brief update as to what we're doing so far this school year.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Dr. Dunlop and President Allen and the board. I appreciate it. Yes, I'll take that from you. So we're just talking about the strategic plan. We're 3.1.1 and 3.1 or 0.2, and so those are a little bit different. I'm going to guide you through here and just show you kind of where we are. We've kind of progressed through these things naturally. We know in the build of that we had our action steps that are pretty much our guidelines that you have to take after you create that goal. And so what we've done is about a month ago when we were preparing for this, we kind of looked back and, that's one thing we reviewed and realized that we were naturally taking those action steps. This is really exciting because it proves the process of the strategic planning and that time and effort that we put into that. So we are excited about that. Okay, there it is. Okay, so the first one was the strategies are the same for the two, obviously, but the first specific result was to provide online resources and learning opportunities for teachers to effectively utilize district technology. So we saw a big need for onboarding, consistent communication to teachers, have a clearinghouse of information, of wealth sharing, collaboration between our staff to grow us equally. And so to do this, the SMART goal was the blended learning team would build 1 each quarter professional development modules inside of Canvas for teachers' professional growth in the school year 17-18. So that's a very directive, very specific timeline on that, and puts a lot of weight on our shoulders to do it. But we're trucking along. So what we've done is inside of Canvas, and I could show it to you a little bit later, but we've built a course called BA Hub, and this course has all our teachers enrolled in it as students. We have, and we can direct certain content to certain users in that. And we really started out with the teachers in that, and in 2016, we built modules for the Teacher Access Center for eSchool. So the onboarding for eSchool was very overwhelming. I'm sure you talk to anybody in the technology department, bringing on a new student information system is an enormous task. And training for that is enormous as well. And having something to where everybody goes to gets the same information and then gets supported by people that had that same information gives you a constant realm of knowledge. And so we had a lot of success with the modules that were built out for eSchool. Those were built all in-house. And the modules, that word I keep using, it's a directive path. So they had to maybe read a content page and then go through that. The next thing maybe would have been a video, and the next one would have been a short assessment. And took them through everything foundationally that they needed to know for success inside of eSchool. And then our FILs, our Fusion Instructional Leaders, were kind of the backbone of that as they rolled out. But it took that whole training off their shoulders. They're more facilitators. As we get more people on, it's not a struggle, and people aren't falling through the cracks of training. They're just going here and following through with that training. And it's proven to be a good system the second year around as we used it to onboard all our new staff this year. This year, what we did is we pushed our Safe School training inside of Canvas. This wasn't a big to-do. Basically, we just made it the path in which the teachers go get that resource, because we really want one place for teachers to have to go get information, and that's kind of the idea of this. And so to get to Safe Schools and to do their training there, they went through the same path. And we've actually had discussions of maybe building that even out naturally inside of there ourselves as well. Coming soon, you see the little logo for SAMR. We talked about this in the past. I think one of the presentations I had to the board and committee, we talked about SAMR. SAMR is just, it's a good guideline of instructional technology growth inside your classroom when it comes to your content and growing that and what your classroom looks like and evolving from, the usual way of teaching all the way to like a redefined classroom where the kids are all learning different ways. And so it goes substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So, and there's not, it's kind of hard to understand. It's not like the goal is for every lesson to be that redefinition. It's kind of like a swimming pool. They go shallow, they go deep, depending on what they're covering. And so we're going over that natural process. Been working with and training the instructional specialists inside of Canvas, and there's a schedule right now where we're pulling some great teachers from our freshman academy and from our high school. We're going to pull them out of their classrooms. One of the greatest things that we have is the Chrome Desk funds from the insurance to be able to do a lot of things to support the one-to-one. And so we're going to be able to pull out teachers, pay for substitutes for them to be covered so that we can train those teachers, have the instructional specialists that are professionals in their content, and walk them through that SAMR process, build lessons in there, and then our teachers are going to go sit with like teachers and really build that out. We're going to videotape it, we're going to interview, we're going to put some small little clips. on BA Hub to where they can go in there and, you know, if you're a ninth grade English teacher, there'd be a resource there for maybe a research project. We're going to try to keep it kind of general so that there's something in there so that they can come and go in there and get. So we're really excited about BA Hub. We think that it's, you know, in 10 years is going to just be the way we onboard people. It's just going to be a really common language for staff, and not just teachers, but all staff. It's a great way to utilize a product that we already have inside the district. So really excited about it. Do we have any questions for 3.1.1 before we move on? No? All right. 3.1.2. This one is a little bit more difficult. This was provide highly qualified instructional technology personnel to support teachers in the use of various district learning technologies and student-centered instructional practice. The SMART goal that was created for this was gain resources to support the growth of and development of the one-to-one initiative for the 17-18 school year. So the real difficult part about this is just, you know, we see all these devices. We now have 10,000 Chromebooks in the district. That's a bunch, right? We have 5,000 at the high school and freshman academy for our one-to-one. Sequoia now has 8 teachers one to stay in that environment. We're going one-to-one in the spring, and very excited. That staff over there is wonderful. We're so excited about what we're doing over there. So that's happening. We have just elementaries buying them up. Every 4th and 5th grade classroom has 5 Chromebooks in each one of them. So it's just crazy, and we support that all through our Chrome desk. If it gets damaged, we have a system all through inter-school mail. So we've created this whole department that's really handled very efficiently because we have to in reality. So the thing is, we have those 10,000 devices, and on track to continue to be able to purchase devices for our freshmen because we say these are probably 4 or 5 year devices. We want to give new devices to freshmen and then have them take them all the way through graduation. We're in our 3rd year of the first installment of devices, and it's proven to be long-lasting. We're seeing that it's going to actually work out very well for us. So we're really excited about that. But in saying that, the devices aren't hard because they're bond money. The hard part is finding the support for the growth of instruction in the classroom, the support of the devices as a whole. You know, we have to manage our Google console. We have to manage our safety where students are online, the filtering, you know, Canvas, the learning portal, the enrollments that go to there. It's a whole new thing we didn't have 5 years ago. I mean, none of those systems we ever had. And so that's really the struggle, is to get that. So we have the devices, the struggles to do this. And we've gotten really creative. So with the SMART goal, what we have in progress, and we've really looked back at our action steps, we have create a vision for the future of blended learning. We want everybody to understand the purpose. Not the one-to-one, because it's not about the device, but about the purpose. And that's why we're creating these SAMR videos. We're creating all this is because we want to show what the goal was to put devices in students. The biggest failure of one-to-one anywhere is because they see everybody else do it, and so they roll it out and say they have a device. That's not, never would we give devices for that purpose. We want to grow the instructional practice. We want to open up the world to students with these devices and just the process of learning. It's the best opportunity to change what we do because they have to change anyway. So if we can support that change, then we can, look completely different in a couple of years from now. So the next thing is continuous research on grant opportunities and other creative funding to build the blended learning team. You know, Title IV just opened up an opportunity for funding, but you know, we spent a lot of time looking at that, but it became just a support for before after school activities, and so we're just trying to get really creative to see how we can sustain what we do. Finding creative ways to support the growth of teaching and learning in the new classroom environment. So we're just finding ways in which we can use the resources we currently have, you know, really building our professional teachers and then using some funds that we have built ourselves to push them out there. That's kind of that SAMR process. So we're trying to get really creative to do the best with what we have. The outcome of all of this, and to say it in one sentence, is, I guess, improvement of teaching and learning practices to enhance student opportunity and preparation for college and career. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do throughout the whole thing.
And Mr. Chitty, I'm glad you brought up one of the challenges, because we do assume, okay, well, if we put the devices in the student's hands, then it magically happens. But it is a challenge supporting all those devices. And that is one of those side effects of funding cuts. People think that as long as you have enough teachers in the classroom that it's okay, but as long as we want to continue to be innovative in the classroom and use technology, then we have to have ways to support that. and something has to give. We know we want teachers in the classroom first, and that's the first priority. So all these other auxiliary services, sometimes they don't get what they need because we have to supply that teacher in the classroom because it's our first priority.
Yep, and I totally get that, and that's why we're being really creative with where we're going, with what we're doing. You know, we don't want to slow it down. We don't want to stop at Sequoia because they're begging for it, and so we just need to find the best ways in which we can be creative and maybe reach out to different funding agents to figure out how we can continue our progress, because, you know, we have a good reputation where we are with one-to-one and what we're doing, and, you know, I've seen big growth, and I hope that you guys have too with the teaching and learning processes in that. So that's all I have for you. Do you guys have any questions about anything we talked about?
Dr. Dunlop, do you foresee, you know, with the funding or lack of funding that we get, but how it's titled to a certain area, you know, textbook, for example, will our legislators ever change and move forward with, instead of they're going to provide us with technology funding versus hard book copy or books, you know, or something like that?
So within the textbook funding, which has been non-existent for the last 2 years, but within the textbook funding, they have provided some flexibility to where we can use that money for other means. It's something they would have to go back and renew each time to provide that flexibility. But as I said, they haven't funded textbooks for the last 2 years, so that funding mechanism hasn't existed.
Yeah, which is why we've done the OER textbooks, and
that's why we created the OERs. Exactly.
But if we were funded adequately, we would be able to.
Absolutely. But again, they sunset that each year, the ability for that flexibility. I wish they would make it permanent.
A line item for education.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line, you know, the lines cross because we have money to get devices, but we don't. Like if we do Sequoia and there's basically 3 of us, right? And so we have the high school, we have the freshman academy. We want those to just be amazing, right? And Options Academy, and then, you know, Sequoia, we have passion. We want that to be amazing. We want the opportunity to say middle school can do this too. Look what it can do. The teachers are bought into it. You know, the principals bought into it. We can do it. And so it's like having this passion without having the, you know, it's hard to do, but, you know, as we continue, we get devices, and we have the ability to take the seniors' devices and roll out another school. We want to find that balance to do we do it, or do we do it right, or do we just throw them out there and hope for the, you know, so it's just that discussion we need to keep in mind as we continue, for sure.
And hopefully some of our sites who are really starting to become proficient users, they can then train each other. We'll use the trainer model and free you all up to really implement at some of those sites that haven't quite.
Yep. Absolutely, and that's where that whole creative ways of supporting are coming into play. So I appreciate your time this evening, and if you have any questions, you can contact me or anything you want. Okay?
Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Before we get to Mr. Stecker and Ms. Stout, just a brief reminder, in December, we'll be back again, and we'll update you on the engagement piece of our strategic plan as well as academic achievement. So HR has been busy. They've been moving, and they have been streamlining a whole lot of things. So I will let Mr. Stecker and Ms. Stout tell you guys more about that.
Good evening, Mr. Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and board. We're excited to share with you some of the things and the progress that we've made in our portion of the strategic plan. Specifically, I'm focusing on strategy 4.1.1, which is to utilize data to evaluate and enhance employee engagement, satisfaction, and retention for the purpose of developing a culture of wellness. And that strategy really has 2 action items in it. One is to evaluate, the other is to enhance. So what we've done so far in our progress to evaluate is we have created some new surveys that we have already initiated our exit survey for employees that are leaving. In the past, it's been after the employee is separated, we've kind of folded up a letter and sent it out with COBRA information, and they've received that, and we had very low response rates to that. So we have come up with a way to make that an electronic process and to get it out earlier. We are now using a SurveyMonkey feature to send it out when we receive notice that an employee is leaving, so they get it in their school email. So first of all, they see it before they're gone, and it's fresh on their minds to how to respond to this, and we get a better response rate is our hope with this. So that's one way we have worked on the evaluation action. A second is we're starting to purposefully gather and look at our employment rates throughout the year on quarterly basis, as well as our retention rate and how that rolls over throughout the year, what that looks like. Are there peak times that we seem to lose staff? Are there peak times when we're hiring more staff, and just what's causing that? So we're in the process of gathering all that data so that next year we can look back and years in the future and see patterns with all that data. The second part of this strategy, the second action, is to enhance. And we have some really exciting things in process and things that we're looking into to enhance our employee engagement with the district, so in order to retain our staff. That starts very first with our onboarding, which is interesting that Mr. Chitty mentioned that so much is important with our staff and in the instructional side. It's very important from just the initial contact with the district. We know that study and research shows that the better we onboard, the better that we can go through an orientation process, the more we will retain staff. So we've enhanced our program this last year by creating multiple meetings that staff can come to, and that being their first day of employment. And we've had a lot of information thrown at them in the beginning, but we've been able to take some of that off our plate by making onboarding forms electronic. We now immediately contact an employee once they're recommended for a position. They get an automatic email so that they know that they're going to be recommended to get that call from HR. There's no question of when is that call going to come. We are also in the process of making some of these standardized forms, the I-9, the W-4, those sort of things, electronic. They can complete those at home before they even attend. And what that will do is that will clear up our meeting time in orientation to really focus on getting them to know the community, the district, and their department. Those three prongs are very important to us in retaining our staff and onboarding them. First of all, the community that I mentioned, we plan to partner and have already reached out to the chamber to find ways that we can get new employees really connected with Broken Arrow, to find out about what's available to them in this community. Many of us have lived here a long time but don't even recognize some of the highlights and the great things that Broken Arrow has to offer. So that will connect them here in Broken Arrow. The next step is to drill down and connect them into the district. Our theme this year, We Are BA, is something that we really want to share with them, be able to show the video, show the history and the things that really makes Broken Arrow a premier district of choice. And then the third level of that is connecting them to their department. You know, the BA Hub is a great way to connect teachers in that onboarding, but we also have bus drivers. We also have child nutrition. So we are going to be working with their managers. We've already started developing some things that will help them develop career paths for what is your goal to be here in Broken Arrow long term, so that we can help equip the managers with that as they go out to their separate departments, whether it's the kitchen or as an aide in the classroom, so that they know that they can achieve what they want to in their career in Broken Arrow. So that's what we're working on and kind of where we are in that process. It's a great development year for us to use the data that we're gathering and then see that these changes that we're doing this year will have a great impact on retaining our staff. Any questions? All right.
Good evening, everyone. We've got a lot of projects going on in payroll, and a couple of things we work on is our semi-monthly as well as a new payroll system coming out. But a couple other things we're focusing on as well in HR is our 4.1.2 is strategy, identify and develop programs that grow and retain a talented and diverse workplace. With that being said, currently right now we're doing a pay study that we're looking at. We've been working with finance and really looking at identifying, prioritizing what groups that we really should look at first. So year one here, we are looking at our clerical staff. We have been working on a tier system, trying to place all of our clerical staff on a certain tier, and then looking really to try and increase those salaries there and the indexes to make sure that we are very competitive with our surrounding schools, as well as create a culture for our current employees. So that is one thing that we're spending a lot of time right now in year one, looking at our clerical staff. Year two will be our classroom support. So we will be putting that on the back burner, working with Natalie, just looking at the current funds that we have that we can really evaluate. And that was one of our action steps, which is to conduct a pay study. So we're excited about that. The second part that we've spent a lot of time on is our virtual clinics, our e-visits. Talking about challenges, Ms. Tiger could probably come up here and speak as much as I could about it. We've had a lot of challenges with our e-visits currently, but we're not going to give up. We are currently going back to legal right now, trying to find ways that we can get around that. We feel this would be a great benefit to our employees. Substitute costs would be down, more instructional time, custodians where they should be, transportation, on and on and on. So we feel it's something we've got to get taken care of. So we're looking to try and get that done.
Mr. Stecker, on the pay scale studies, how did you determine, prioritize which group you would focus on first?
Really, we went by primarily the group that declined the jobs most often. That was our clerical staff. So we're finding that they're taking jobs at other districts because the pay is more. So that was our declining rate was real high there.
Mr. Stecker, when you say e-visits, you're talking with your teledocs and those things.
That's correct.
You know, I get to sit in the subcommittees with you all and listen to it. It amazes me that we're the largest employer in Broken Arrow, and we can't come up with a teledoc. And I'm not saying not with lack of your efforts by no means, because I get to hear how hard you're working on it and through the legal struggles that we can't come up with a teledoc system when American Airlines and those other large employers are doing the exact same thing we're wishing to get to help cut our costs. And I'm sure they, from their profitability models, they see the benefit of it. We would as well help cut our costs from an overhead standpoint. So it just amazes me, and I hope that you guys have great success in overcoming those legal hurdles from the legal people.
Yes, we're not going to give up, that's for sure. Ms. Tiger and I've talked a lot. We've hit a roadblock, but we've just got to go back and re-examine and find another angle to really approach it. But we feel it's very, very important that we get this done, so it's high on our priorities as far as getting this taken care of.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I mean, that's outside the box. That's what we need to be doing. It's great. Is that all for the strategic plan, Dr. Dunlop?
I think so.
All right. Any questions? Okay. Next item, number 12, Mr. Ptolomeo. You're on the clock.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I'm here to provide the quarterly construction update. We have quite a lot to go through. We have quite a lot that we've accomplished over this past couple months in this summer.
We are having technical difficulties. We've lost our
Sir?
yeah.
Do we want to table this till the next meeting then if we have an issue?
It's kind of up to you guys.
Well, we can. You guys want to do this?
You okay with that? Or?
Yep.
You okay?
Okay, we're going to go ahead and, well, it's not an action item, so let's just go ahead and skip it then and let's come back. So it's information only if you can't get it out.
Okay.
And we'll just do it at the next month meeting.
That's fine. You're fine. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be the,
Whoop, hold on.
Just so you know, we won't have a feed up on the monitors.
that's fine. Okay, next item will be the approve or disapprove of the general consent items 13 through 70. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion to approve. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, item 71, Mr. Moore.
Good evening. I'm seeking your approval of the rejection of the HVAC bids received on the Kirkland Auditorium project. The bids were opened on August 7th. We had two bidders. Both bids were much higher than the budget for the project, twice as much actually than what we budgeted. Wow. And so our recommendation is to rewrite the scope of that work and come back at a later date.
Okay. Discussion? No. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the rejection of the HVAC bids.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Next item, 72, Ms. Brassfield.
Have the PowerPoint.
It was
do have it.
Okay.
You do have the attachments of this next presentation.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. If we could just
Oh,
kind of
yes.
see what they're looking at, we could.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
We're gonna
So the
start.
rest of you just have to pretend.
We'll make it.
President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. Before I get started, I want to introduce Diana Bjornson. Diana is our district test coordinator, and Diana and I will present to you the selection and discussion process that we used when selecting the SAT. So what have we done in the past as far as college and career readiness? Well, in our 8th and 9th grade, as you can see there, and you guys are pretending, we have not had a college and career readiness test that lined up. For 10th graders, we had the PSAT, and between our 10th and 11th graders, we used that mainly for our national merit students, and so we tested about 471. We tested our top 10% of our 10th graders, and then about our top 10, maybe 20 of our juniors. For 10th grade on pre-ACT, we gave that to all the students, and the state paid for that last year. And then ACT for all our juniors. And again, that was paid for by the state. So you can go to the next one. Okay, so during the 15-16 school year, we piloted the ACT. And then last school year, the state came out and gave us a choice. But due to the time constraints, the district only had about 3 weeks to make a decision. So that was kind of a fast turnaround. We met with the high school and the assessment team, and we felt like it would not give our students and parents the appropriate time to transition. So we wanted to wait, give the ACT, and then have some time to do some research. And so that's what we did last year. And so this year, which you can go to the next one, we developed a committee. So we had the high school principal, the BAFA principal, the grade level principals, we had counselors, college and career counselors, assistant superintendents, the assessment team. We brought everybody together, and we had ACT and SAT present to us. And so we asked to give us the beef, you know, what is the best part of your program? And they presented to us, and we took a vote. And the vote was everyone SAT and 2 ACT. So we really wanted to discuss the pros and cons, make the best decisions, so we continued having a discussion till we could get 100%. And that didn't take too long, about 10 minutes, and we had 100% for the SAT. So a few things, and you guys can't see these things, but the committee had made some comments and thoughts, and one thing that I thought was really cool about this is someone really liked, you know, that students could actually take their strengths and weaknesses and build on that. So if they had a weakness, they could actually use that. They could get on their Chromebook, their iPad, their phone, and they could link straight in to College Board and then click on that objective, and then they could go directly to a lesson through Khan Academy. SAT has partnered with Khan Academy, and so they can have online practice tutorials, they can have online tests, online homework, and they can actually hone in and work specifically on an objective. Where with ACT, it's kind of, you get that packet, you guys all remember, and if you're low in one area of math, you're studying everything in math. And so there wasn't that area that they could really work with. And I think this would help the teachers too to know what to work on. And so Diana is going to go over some of the benefits, the perceptions, the realities of the program.
President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, it's a pleasure to be here. When we did a comparison, and as there are multiple areas that we looked at, but some of the ones that we thought were most favorable for our students is the test continuum, where they have a PSAT for 8th grade and a PSAT for 9th, and that gives the students not only practice but it also gives teachers feedback and teachers and students information about where the students' strengths are, where their weaknesses are, so they can start beginning that process of mastering their skills earlier, besides waiting for 10th or 11th grade. The times per question was another one. Our students have been taking the state tests, which are untimed. So when they started taking the PSAT for national merit, or they started taking the ACT and SAT, one of the biggest complaints students had was, we don't have time to take it. We're not used to 35 minutes for 30 questions. We could take 2 or 3 hours if we needed to. So when we looked at this, SAT gives at least 50% more time per question than ACT does, and that's huge. And some of them are 100% more time, which was huge for our students, because that will help alleviate some of that anxiety. And then we looked at the student resources. As Mrs. Braswell said, the Khan Academy has just a plethora of resources for students, for parents, for teachers, and we felt that they would be able to get to practice the test. They have like 8 full tests on there right now. They can just look at questions that deal with their specific weaknesses, and then they can consistently receive feedback. Next one. Then we're looking at a couple other ones, the online scoring portal, which was able to give us feedback that we can download and put in an Excel sheet and be able to manipulate it and use, filter it, whatever we needed to do, so we can get the best for our students. And then SAT has offered so much support. They are actually sending a representative to be at the Broken Arrow High School open house, so that SAT can come and talk with SAT can talk with the parents, and parents can ask them direct questions. They are offering webinars and professional development. There's a crew of us going to University of Tulsa on Wednesday, including our teacher leaders, just so we can see what that's all about, and we can really get into SAT early and not just look at it after the kids have taken the test. And so their personal contact has been nothing but exceptional. Also, as we look at SAT is more than just a student's college entrance exam. It is a connection to additional scholarships. They really help our economically disadvantaged students be able to get more scholarships, more free tests. So all of that looks together, and then it also aligns with our AP classes. And we always want to give our students more opportunities for our advanced classes. We do have some perceptions that perhaps are misconceptions about SAT. We've heard things like Oklahoma schools only accept ACT. Well, I did a study, and almost 90% of our colleges and universities accept either ACT or SAT, and I think that number will continually increase. We hear that SAT is harder. Well, I did a study with the sophomores from last year's sophomores, this year's juniors, those students who took the PSAT and the pre-ACT, but they took both tests. And 70% of our sophomores who took both tests in the fall of 2016 scored as high or higher on the PSAT than on the ACT. So I think that, it wasn't all the sophomores, but it was a portion of our sophomores, and I think that's a great indication of how it aligns more to how our high school teachers and our middle school teachers are teaching the students about critical thinking and reasoning and things of that nature. And we also hear that the Oklahoma curriculum is aligned to ACT. No, our Oklahoma curriculum is our assessments, or our standards. And either one of those, because our standards are much more built on mastery and critical thinking, that is not even an argument that they can take. Also, continue on. When we looked at our BSA, our Broken Arrow, how our planned continuum is that I already gone to that. What we want to look at now is we want to look at what can we do. Before, we didn't do anything in 8th or 9th grade. We want to be able to, with funding, because this will be district funded, is do a PSAT in 8th grade, do a PSAT in 9th grade, and we're hoping it'll be a gradual thing because of funding, so that when the students get into 10th grade and they take the PSAT and MSQT, we'll have some great data. They've already taken that. And then when they get into 11th grade and take that PSAT again, they'll be used to the test. We'll have much more success with our national merit efforts. So, and then of course our SATs, they've taken it several times. They'll be much more familiar with the test. And half the battle of being successful on a test is knowing how to take that test. So I think that when we look at that continuum, the SAT offers more for our students. Also, SAT provides a great instructional support system to help prepare our students as well as our teachers to be successful. What are we looking for in the next steps is we are looking at professional development. In fact, on August 31st at a professional development day at the high school, we did half that professional development day was just centered on SAT, where teachers took the SAT test. They had some of our teacher leaders go over them, what are the components and what the strengths are, weaknesses are, and then the teachers got together and collaborated about what they can do with their current curriculum to support the SAT efforts. So also, when we also are looking for the funding, or another thing is the 8th and 9th grade test. That's one of our huge prayers, because that's what it is a prayer, with funding. But that's what we want to also be able to, with everything, develop support for our 11th graders, so that when they take the PSAT, and then our 12th graders when they take the SAT, and 11th graders when they take the SAT, that they have the support and they've got the experience to be successful. Okay, any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Impressive.
Just a comment in that, it's no big secret that one of our big goals has been to increase our number of National Merit Scholarship finalists. So in my honest opinion, I think this will help us truly align what we're doing instructionally to what our goal is, our end goal is. And yes, it's of course for every student to qualify with a score to go to college, but it's also to increase the number of national merit semifinalists. So let's align all those stars. And it did feel like ACT was sort of distracting. We got one hurdle in that we actually were able to use an ACT for a state test, but now we're to the next point. And I can say, as a parent now, of a junior who's going through this process, I surely appreciate the support, because I honestly didn't know how to support him in increasing his ACT score as I felt like I needed to be.
Last year at Engage, it was Ed Camp when we had it here, Choose Your Own Adventure. We had a teacher show up to one of the sessions that was a high school teacher, and we desagged all the information on the state testing, but they kept coming up like, what can we do for ACT? But it's real hard because you get PDFs, and
right.
You don't get the data, and you don't get it by objective. And so they were asking for it. It's just we couldn't give it to them.
SAT's just done a better job, I think, in development in the last 10 years and in providing those resources. So,
Dr. Dunlop, we have to have 100% participation in this testing, correct? Or it affects our A to F grade?
95%.
95. What did we have last year on the ACT?
80.
80.
But we have a plan.
Yes. And we're still working with high school principals.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense what you're doing to align with national merit and all the PSATs prior to it. But, my concern is it's always been ACT, getting over that hurdle and getting that communication out to parents to let them know your kid's doing this and needs to do this.
The high school is doing a really good job with that.
Yeah.
They have we put a communication plan together. Our communication team did an awesome job. They have put it out on the website.
I received a phone call today telling me that they were going to provide SAT support at the parent night.
And I think my child's a senior this year, and I wish that she would have started, because she took it again Saturday, and it's like she's studying everything to try to improve her score 1 point, and with the SAT she could have just honed in on her weaknesses. So I kind of feel like it's just great for all the upcoming students that they have the opportunity to really be able to tell, and that's what we need to get out to parents is you will love it that your child will know exactly what to study.
That, and let's be frank, our biggest challenge is making sure we hit that 95%.
Absolutely, and
this-
that's one of the reasons why we've talked, that was one of our concerns, regardless of ACT or SAT. And that's why we have SAT coming to the open house next week, so they'll be available. If we get parent support, it's more apt that they're going to make sure that the students come to class and be there on the days of testing, because we only we will be testing April 10th, and then we have one makeup day. So yes, the pressure is on.
And I know the high school has put together a plan of how do we incentivize the students to
Right,
be there that day.
right, and that's
I think
another
that's
thing.
the key, of course, with high school kids, because they
Right. And
they
they are
drive.
working on that. Yes.
And this was for our juniors, you said? Dr.
Yes.
Dunlop? I mean, how did they come up with the arbitrary 95% participation? Because we won't have 95% of our juniors that are going to go to college. So how do they come up with 95% participation rate in that?
Right,
to
that's
take that?
actually set by ESSA guidelines of what we are required to test, so that we have a true representation of our student population for accountability. So that's not a state decision, that's federal.
And we've been talking to the state very closely, letting them know with the largest high school in the state, this may be an issue. And so they have actually made some discussion and talk, and I don't know if it will hold, but maybe instead of dropping us a whole letter grade, maybe we will just get some kind of comment off to the side, or maybe just a minus instead of a whole letter grade, because, you know, they know we try to test everyone. And so I think our new State Department and the people in there kind of has a little more compassion for that. And so they're looking at other avenues. So I'm hoping one of those other avenues will show up rather than, you know, giving us an F.
I hope the same. We just need the support of the State Board of Education.
Yes,
That's
right.
We know that.
But unfortunately, when someone from the outside looking in pulls your A to F grade up and it's an F because of, they don't know that.
Right.
Right.
They don't know that we had to reach 95% participation.
Well, one of the things is that the SAT will be is in lieu of a state reading and a state math test, and whether we don't have the EOIs where they have to pass 4 of 7, but every student must take the English, must take the math, must take the science. So when we also put that on their plates and letting the students know, you have got to take this to graduate, whether, you know, it's not a pass or fail, it's just you have to participate. And participate means don't go in there. It also means you have to bubble in some answers. So we had a couple try to do that. So anyway, when we also let them know that they have to participate in order to graduate, that might, you know, make them a little bit more attentive. Yes.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, next item, Mr. Ellett, Student Services.
President Ellett, Dr. Dunlop, Board. Our cheerleaders have annually attended the National Cheerleading Contest in Orlando, Florida, and this year it's in February again. And this gives Broken Arrow a chance to showcase the talents of our cheerleading squad, and also gives our student athletes, our cheerleaders, a great opportunity to do something that they'll never forget. But because of a clerical error, this item was left inadvertently off the agenda last month. Therefore, the student trip is being presented a little bit later than usual. And also, due to rising airline prices, we had to go ahead and secure advance deposit before board approval. And to be as transparent as possible, we'd ask you to go ahead and approve this tonight.
Any questions?
Nope. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellett. Ms. Enoff.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board.
We can pull her PowerPoint
Okay.
up if she wants to go over it.
My first item is just the presentation of the monthly financial reports through the end of August. Really, you know, beginning of fiscal year, not a whole lot of activity. Our state aid is a little bit lower than where we were last year. Of course, this is very volatile area, and we'll just continue to monitor how the per pupil funding figure holds out for the rest of us. We're collecting just a little bit of back taxes and then some prior year federal reimbursement claims. Building fund, kind of the same situation, prior year ad valorem and local donations. We, this fund is 95% driven on current year ad valorem money. Child nutrition continues to do well and thrive in their collections, and they're extremely self-sufficient, and we are very grateful for that because they pay for all of their own salary, costs, supplies, materials, and all that good stuff. So they operate very well for the school district. Our expenditures are pretty well on target with where we need to be, salaries and benefits. You can see some of the results of some of the tough decisions we made last year in some of the restructuring and changes across the district in an attempt to stay ahead of the budget concerns. Building fund, you know, we're always looking for ways to use our money the most efficient way possible, and if we can shift expenditures to building fund, which collections are a little bit more stable in, we'll certainly do that. But with servicing 27 sites and all of our facilities, that task is getting harder and harder because it's expensive to run a district behind the scenes and pay for utilities and maintenance. So building fund is doing well otherwise, though. Child nutrition, a little bit of spike in some of the supplies, some of the food they've pre-purchased for the year, but they will continue to stay on track. They've also gone ahead and encumbered their workers' comp expense for the year. They pay for their own workers' comp expense into our self-insured fund. And the ending fund balance right now is the pure cash balance that's being reported in the EON. Our CAFR will report the accrual version of that Ms. Mitchum is working on, and that will be audited by our financial auditing firm. Questions?
So, Ms. Enoff, so just in 2 years, we're down almost 5% on our fund balance?
Correct. My next item, if there aren't any other questions, is to ask your approval for the estimate of needs for the 17-18 school year. You have the document attached, I believe. And really, I mean, it's a very lengthy document. I won't go through it page by page, but the important thing to point out in it is the district's increasing value. We continue to increase value in both Tulsa and Wagner County, which is very good news for our sinking fund and our building fund. It helps us in general fund, but as you know, it's a chargeable line item in the state funding formula, so it does come off for what we receive in state aid. But building and sinking fund, it's great news for us. Our sinking fund millage is 29.64, and we've promised our patrons through bond issues to try and keep that number under 30, and that just helps us with overall bonding capacity and keeping less off our taxpayers' backs. So I would entertain any questions on the estimate of needs. This basically sets our legal budget for the year, our maximum appropriations, and really kicks off our financial reporting season, if you will.
Ms. Enoff, can you tell us what that total number is for the budget?
For general fund or
just a total overall? I mean, you're going to give like 114 million, or what is it?
In the next item, I'll be presenting our actual operating budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, Ms. Enoff,
Okay.
76.
So the next item is the actual operating budget for the district. These numbers are much, much lower than what are presented in the estimate of needs for general building and child nutrition fund. Just going through general fund. You can see the actual revenue we received in 16-17, about 112 million. Of course, the key factor in this is what we're going to receive in state aid. That's about 45, almost half of our general fund operating budget. We ended up last year collecting about 45 million. We're on track this year to receive closer to 46 million. That'll be tweaked based on our student counts as of October 1st, and then of course whatever happens with actual revenue collections through the state when the State Board of Equalization meets in December. So that figure is still very much up in the air. Expenditures for general fund, we ended up last year because of the very hard work of all of our staff in very good shape for our actual expenditures at about $111 million. One thing that public education is criticized about is what expenditures actually go into the direct classroom, what expenditures are classified as instruction. But I always like to clarify that there are so many other function codes, as we call it in OCAS language, that go into supporting what happens directly in the classroom. Transportation, custodial services, you name it. And so I think that's kind of an unfair criticism. But if we do spend almost 60% of our operating budget on instruction. Right now, I'm proposing an operating budget of $113 million. This number will be tweaked based upon any last-minute allocations that we will receive throughout the year, and as things come up that were unplanned for, I'll bring amendments to the board for your approval throughout the year. Any questions on general fund? Okay, building fund. Again, you can see you collected almost $5 million, most of it in ad valorem. We are predicting about the same in predictions for next year. We have to basically assume 95% of collections in ad valorem. Typically, we receive closer to 97, 98% of that, so that's very good for that fund. Our fund balance has actually built up a little bit more. From the past couple of years, we had some one-time expenses, and those have dropped off, so we're slowly rebuilding our fund balance in building fund. And I know that makes Ms. Bergwall happy. Building fund expenditures, we're sitting at just about $5 million. For the proposal for this year, only spent 3.7 as of last year. Again, we project high. We're not going to spend $5 million, but just in case we need to shift something, we've built that cushion in to have a little bit of latitude as we go forward. Are there any questions on building fund? Okay, child nutrition. We mentioned this before. They're extremely self-sufficient, bring in close to $9.3 million in revenue, proposing a $10 million operating budget for them. As we continue to grow, add more students, add programs. Ms. Goodacre does a really good job with trying to think outside the box and bring in more revenue. So we will support her in however we can in operating her program and making sure she has the sufficient tools to operate her very successful program. So 10.2 is the number for child nutrition. Any questions on that? And like I said, this again just kind of sets the baseline for what we expect, and any additions will be brought to the board's attention as the year goes on.
Okay. Any questions?
Great job. Thank you.
All right, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 77, Ms. Enos.
All right, my last item is to ask the board to approve the ratification of the negotiated agreement between us and BAEA for the 17-18 school year. Just a couple things to point out. First of all, I know Ms. Cook couldn't be here tonight, but just want to thank her and her team for the collaborative process that we went through this year. I think that, you know, the district has had a long history of having a good relationship with our bargaining unit, and really appreciate them for being open to the changes. Also want to definitely thank our HR team, Ms. Tiger and Mr. Stecker. Brought a lot of great changes that needed to be put in place forward, and we appreciate their collaboration in this process as well. The survey was sent out to certified staff first week of school and was ratified, 94%.
All right, any questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, new business. We have none. Item 79.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.